Hi, I'm Guy Harris, and this is Talk Like a Leader. This week's episode is titled, The Best Way to Resolve Conflicts That Develop in Email. Now, I guess the question is, have you ever had an email conflict? I know that I certainly have. In fact, most people I work with, most members of my family, most people I know have at some point in time had a conflict that started by an email. And it can happen a lot of different ways. Maybe you get a question from someone that you answer quickly. You shoot off a quick answer, maybe short to the point, and they take it badly and they reply in a way that you at least perceive is abrupt and maybe a little bit more aggressive than you thought the conversation was headed. And so you get a little annoyed because you perceive that they're a little annoyed. Or maybe it goes another way. Maybe you ask a question in email that is completely innocently asked, and the person answers with what you perceive to be anger. It's short, to the point. You perceive it to be a little bit more aggressive than necessary. Or maybe you get a reply from someone that says something like, well, I sent that email to you. Did you not read it? Or some version of that statement. You've probably had some type of experience similar to this. Like I said, I have. Most people I know have. It's a common experience. Now, it's not always email. Sometimes it's instant message like Slack or something in Microsoft Teams or some other version of instant messaging. Could be a text message. Lots of different ways through written correspondence, usually electronic written correspondence. There is some version of miscommunication that almost instantly triggers an emotional response, probably a negative emotional response, that generates anger in you or maybe in the person you're communicating with. And it leads to a conflict in email. And well, I don't know about you. I can tell you what happens for me. The thing that happens almost instinctively, almost automatically, is that I start to reply in the email or the text message or the instant message and start some kind of long explanation about how there was a miscommunication or try to clarify things, share additional information, somehow try to mitigate this conflict in email or text message or instant message. And I've noticed it just doesn't usually go very well. One of the things I've learned is that the absolute best way to resolve a conflict that starts in email or any other form of electronic written communication is to get it out of email and to talk with the person. Now, sometimes that could be a video call, sometimes it could be a phone call. The best is if you can actually meet face to face. That doesn't always happen in today's world with remote work and people communicating across big distances where they can't necessarily get face to face. But somehow we need to break the cycle of written communication and make a human connection that written communication just won't make. So what's the absolute best way to resolve a conflict that starts in email? Get it out of email. Now, there's some work that I've done with my colleagues, Kevin Eikenberry and Wayne Termel, where they reference this concept known as scope and richness of communication. So scope meaning the number of people you can reach or how quickly you can communicate with a large number of people. And richness meaning the amount of emotional information or other information that can be included in the communication, how closely you can connect with an individual on the other side. And the research I've seen basically says that written communication, virtually of any kind, has huge scope, meaning we can do it quickly and we can shoot off a quick message and we can send a single message to a large number of people. Yet there's not much richness. There's another episode in the Talk Like a Leader podcast history that talks about the idea that email has no tone and the idea that things can go bad so quickly in email. Well, that's been my experience across the board. Written communication, once it goes badly, probably doesn't go well quickly. There are some techniques you can use. There are some apology strategies. There are things you can do to help calm down maybe a heated interchange by email. And all of those are secondary to talking with the person with whom you're in conflict. I have some friends, I have some colleagues, I have some clients who tell me that they don't necessarily want to have the phone conversation once it has started to get heated because they really don't want the confrontation or the perceived confrontation. And as I think about that response, I think, well, you're already in a confrontation. Wouldn't you want to resolve it as quickly as possible? That's not necessarily easy to get on the phone, especially when you perceive that the other person might be angry. And in most cases, it's going to be better if you do. Like so many things I talk about on the Talk Like a Leader podcast, I can't really say that this is 100% perfect, will work in every situation technique. I can say that it is the most powerful technique that works in the broadest number of situations that I'm aware of. So when email goes badly, when emotions get high, when you get angry, you perceive the other person's angry, the very best thing you can do is change the communication medium and get out of it. The struggle is that once you're in email, you can feel sort of trapped in the email. You know, it started happening in email, so you respond in email, and then the emails just get more tense, more terse, either shorter and more direct or longer and more explanatory. And in both cases, it doesn't tend to help very much. So here's what I'm going to suggest. When you have a conflict, develop an email or text message or instant message. The very best thing you can do is talk with the person with whom you're in conflict. Video call, phone call, preferably if you can, if time and distance allows, face to face. The very best thing you can do to break a conflict that's in email is to talk with the person with whom you're in conflict. If you can muster the energy, muster the courage, make the first move to break the email cycle, to ask for the face-to-face or person-to-person connection so that you can break the conflict that's in email, you can talk like a leader. This has been the Talk Like a Leader podcast. You can listen to this show every week wherever you get your podcast. If you haven't, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. I'm Guy Harris, and thanks for listening.